What's up, YouTube? I am here today to discuss medication changes. It's been a while since I talked to y'all about some of the medications I was on, but I figured, it's been enough time and I should probably just get back into it. So today I'm going to be talking to y'all about Gabapentin, which I have been on before, but I didn't really take it. They were like, I just have this thing about medicine where like if the pill is really large, for some reason I don't like taking it. I don't like taking medicine like normally anyway. Like I hate the idea of having to take medicine in order to like be better. I'm not saying that like, medicine isn't great, especially if you have a mental illness, you should take it. Medicine is awesome savior. I've been on so many medications forever. I just have some weird mental thing about taking it. So I decided to try Gabapentin again, mainly because I'm not currently on my lithium medication. So I've tried that again and that didn't work out. So I'm not on any medication right now to treat my bipolar disorder. So no mood stabilizers. And that's been going great. I'll make an update about that. But the biggest thing is that I still have anxiety, which sucks. And I realized now that it's more so about just things I haven't dealt with regarding my PTSD and a lot of those issues. So it's less about just having anxiety for no reason and taking a pill to magically fix it, and it's more about having medication to sort of lower that anxiety. I still have it, but to make it more manageable while I currently deal with my issues surrounding complex PTSD. Sorry, I said PTSD earlier. Complex PTSD, which just means it's trauma over a long period of time that's now manifesting itself. Not just now manifesting itself, it's been here for a while. But anyway, Gabapentin, which is also Neurontin, I'm taking 300 milligrams a day, and I'm taking one capsule by mouth twice daily. For the most part, I've really only been taking one a day. It's really cool in terms of this medication that, a lot of the other ones like Buspar that I've been on and some of the other medications for anxiety, you need to take it for a few weeks to have it build up in your system. Gabapentin doesn't work like that. So it's sort of in the same regard towards Xanax that you kind of take it as needed. It's not anything similar to Xanax at all, but in terms of the times, that's how I've understand it. So it comes in these little capsules, these little pills, which makes it easier for me to take. They're still kind of large, but before they were these big white oval shapes, and that was just not really doing it for me. So a little bit more about Gabapentin. Like I said, it's called Neurontin. It's Gabapentin, but it's also Neurontin. It's the same thing. It was originally created as an anticonvulsant, and when I say originally, it still is an anticonvulsant, so that means that it's primarily used to treat seizures, and that is currently what the FDA has approved it for. Now, I am taking it for my anxiety, and it's not approved by the FDA for that, and it's actually, a lot of people say it either has worked or it hasn't worked. There's lots of different studies that show it either has been good for people with anxiety or that it has actually been negative. The interesting thing that I have learned more about this medication is that it actually is tried a lot for people who have bipolar disorder and different mood disorders. So that's interesting, but it's not really recommended as being something that can replace traditional medication. So I am not a scientist by any means, nor a doctor. I'm not sure if that's what scientists do. Regardless, I'm terrible at math and science, so I wanted to give kind of an amateur explanation about the actual science components behind it, because I think that's sort of my next step in trying to understand medication. I think it's good to explain how these medications affect me emotionally and side effects and all of that, but I think it's also important to understand sort of what's really going on inside the brain component, if that makes sense. So Gabapentin and GABA, are they the same? Not exactly. So GABA, I'm not sure if y'all have heard of GABA. Y'all probably have heard of GABA. It's a neurotransmitter. It's an inhibitory neurotransmitter from what I understand. So it inhibits certain signals. Neurotransmitters are the signals that send throughout our brains. So GABA basically inhibits those and slows them down, which also therefore then decreases activity that's happening in our brain or in our central nervous system, essentially. When GABA attaches to a GABA receptor, which is in our brains, it creates sort of a soothing effect or a calming effect. So this sort of helps limit feelings of anxiety and stress and just like panic in general. So essentially GABA, because it blocks certain neurotransmitters, it blocks, from my understanding, all of those stressors or those signals that would be causing stress and anxiety and like fear and all of those like bad things. GABA is what sort of helps that and helps your body sort of like control and manage those feelings. So the part of it that I don't really understand, while GABA is used to sort of calm those exciting signals in our brain, gabapentin is like not exactly the same as GABA because it doesn't affect the same GABA receptors in the mind. Again, GABA being an amino acid that attaches itself to a protein in the GABA receptors, which is like the actual way it reduces stress. So gabapentin doesn't attach itself to the same receptors, which is interesting. But at the same time, it's still prescribed to use and treat anxiety because it sort of mimics the same effects. So that's sort of like how I understand it. I'm assuming that, you know, if you have anxiety or you have severe anxiety or like especially complex PTSD, like trauma that has been throughout, I'll put it in context of my life. I've had trauma throughout my childhood since I was like basically born into it. And then starting to see those effects and like those anxiety effects increase when I got into high school, and then really being like problems in my life now. I'm guessing it's because my brain has trouble with like producing GABA or has trouble maintaining that. So this sort of acts as I wouldn't call it a supplement, but it sort of helps my brain maintain what it's supposed to be doing normally to sort of bring down the anxiety or just like those signals of fear and stress and all of those things. Now it doesn't get rid of it completely, and I think that was the mistake I had made. I had been looking for an anxiety medication that would wipe out my anxiety so that I wouldn't have constant anxiety over everything, and I think that's just like impossible. A lot of the things that I have been working on again relate to my PTSD, and it's just stuff that like even I know to be logically true, I'm still afraid over certain things, and I still have anxiety over certain things. So again, this really isn't to be used as like a fix. It's really just for me to be able to use so I can work out like my other problems without just being completely destroyed and just completely distraught. The great thing about gabapentin and serotonin that I've realized like so far, and that, you know, researchers have said from my research on Google, gabapentin is better than Xanax and other anti-anxiety drugs that are used that way. One, it's less addictive, it has way less side effects, and it's able to sort of mimic the effects of GABA without causing a lot of like withdrawal symptoms. So like for Xanax, you can build up you can build up sort of, I guess, like a dependency on it, and you definitely can feel withdrawal effects. With gabapentin, you know, I could take this today, tomorrow, the next day, and then I can stop, and I won't like necessarily feel like any type of way, and again, I can really just take it as needed. So I am going to try this. I am excited for it. I did try it before and it didn't really work, but I think that was because I was looking at my anxiety issues in a different way. I was really looking at, again, to get rid of my anxiety as a whole, and I don't think that that's one possible slash like productive because, you know, I'm still like not dealing with my main issues, which is why years later, we're here now. It's really interesting. I haven't done a whole bunch of research on this, but it's also been like, you know, used for people who have bipolar disorder, as I said. A lot of the studies say it's not as effective in controlling moods, but that it can be used as like kind of an add-on to whatever medication that you would be taking for your moods, for that sort of anxiety slash like mania, acute mania feel. A lot of like research says that it works for mania, but it's not like, again, mood stabilizing, and a lot of the research is like iffy in general. But I'm taking it for anxiety. I do plan on taking a mood stabilizer eventually once everything's clear out my system and my doctor says that, like, you know, I can jump on another medication. But until then, I am optimistic for this. I am feeling, you know, pretty good, and it's working. I definitely think it's working, especially being cooped up in the house during this quarantine. It really does help level me out. Now, it doesn't feel like Xanax at all. I think the difference between like me thinking it's working is not only that like not only that my anxiety hasn't gone away completely, because that's not going to happen, as I said. It's also the euphoria feeling. So with Xanax, I'm like, oh, this is working because like I can like feel the euphoria, and like while that's good, it doesn't necessarily mean it's working. Slash like you don't necessarily have to feel the euphoria for it to work. So I'm going to be focusing a lot on this and trying to figure out how this really does make me feel. I'm excited because it has very little side effects. And yeah, we'll see how this gets started. I will leave y'all with this as I do all of these medication updates and sort of what I've been going through. And I provide, recommendations, soft recommendations. Like, obviously don't listen to me again. My PhD comes from Google and from YouTube, other YouTube videos, same as what y'all are doing. But I read a lot online about them people saying oh, this doesn't really work for bipolar disorder, or oh, this will make things worse, or this will make your anxiety worse, or this doesn't work for anxiety. I hear all these different things, and I think that within any medication that you choose, yes, there are some medications where it's you just shouldn't be on it because of the chemical compounds or side effects it might be causing, or there's things that are obviously just bad for you. But for things like gabapentin, there's mixed reviews online. Some people say it helps, some people say it doesn't. And I think that it's really up to the person taking it. So I'm going to try gabapentin again because I think it's working for me now. It doesn't mean it worked in the past. It doesn't mean it's always going to work in the future. Your bodies change, your environment changes, things that we do change. It impacts our behavior, impacts our mental illness, impacts the medication that we're taking. It's not good enough for me to just say oh, you guys, gabapentin really works for me. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Not saying that it's not or that it is. But it also means that if I'm getting off my lithium medication and I'm feeling great and all I have to work on right now is PTSD and anxiety and that's what I'm going through, it doesn't mean that I'm wrong, because I know you should trust how you are feeling, even if your doctor tells you no. I did not want to be on my lithium medication and I'm not now, and I'm feeling great. My doctor obviously was hesitant about it, and with good reason, but I think at the end of the day, you sort of know how you're feeling, you know what works, you know what medications aren't working. So you really have to trust yourself in that yes, doctors and healthcare professionals are here to help you guide the way, but you really should start thinking about it in the sense that you are a customer and they are the provider. So you kind of drive those conversations. You can kind of, dictate what you want and what makes you feel better, because at the end of the day, no one can tell you what makes you feel good. Lithium is one of the most widely used medications ever. And it wasn't making me feel great. Yeah, my moods were good, but my side effects were terrible. And I was just I don't care what you guys say. I'm getting off of this because you guys don't feel what I feel. Same thing with anxiety medication. I didn't want to be on Xanax anymore. I was taking it as needed. I didn't feel personally I was really dependent on it or addictive to that. I just didn't want to be on it, and that was just for me. Now, someone else who might feel the same way I do might feel they just needing Xanax because that's the only thing that can really help them through severe panic attacks and really put it, stop it in its tracks. And that was me for a while. Don't let a doctor tell you that oh, we shouldn't try this because it is addictive. Now be hesitant and take all the information in, but at the end of the day, you really do know yourself. And I think that's what we need to start trusting, is that we can't be just dictated to. We should receive information and then make informed choices based on what we've heard and sort of how we're feeling. So, yep, I'm gonna give this a try. Share, and comments. See what other medications y'all have tried. Have you tried gabapentin? Is it working for you? Do you recommend anything else? I would love to hear it. Hope y'all are staying safe and healthy, and that you guys are staying inside, because this quarantine is just having us all stay inside. So I guess we're all inside. Hopefully it's lifted soon. All right, y'all. I will hit y'all back with a new video soon, and y'all have an amazing day, or whenever y'all are watching this. Just be great. Peace.